And when you jump on land, and when you do anything in the weight room with your legs, like a squat, or any kind of leg movement in the weight room, in the gym, where you're doing any kind of jump, your back is locked. Your back is rigid, your back is not grounded. So everything, all the drills that I like, and everything we're trying to accomplish is how to get from rounded to flat back, so you can get the best jump. You don't jump like this. You jump like this. And so how do you jump with your back in this posture when you start rounded?
Ya, jadi drill yang akan teknik loncat yang akan diajarkan Russell. Setelah ini kita mencoba untuk menyerupai pada saat kita loncat di jalan posisinya. Kita nggak pernah loncat di jalan pada saat kita pakai beban, ya di gym untuk melatih gaya rendah kita. Kita nggak pernah ada di posisi punggung ini melengkung. Pasti semuanya sudah terkunci. Nah, ini adalah beberapa tahap untuk melatih agar kita bisa loncat dengan posisi punggung kita ini terkunci dengan baik.
And so, first drill I'd like to talk about is streamline push with a flat back. So you can do this. I actually start with 2 feet in front, flat back. So back is flat, bending over, flat back, roll and push, and then I move to track start. So 1 foot up, 1 foot back, again, flat back. And thinking about how do you engage your legs the best, how do you get the best push out of your legs with the flat back.
Ya, jadi ini adalah tahap awalnya ya. Jadi coba loncat posisi streamline dengan punggung yang rata. Ya, Russell suka melakukan awal dengan 2 kaki di depan. Setelah mereka terbiasa, baru tracks, ya, baru dimundurin 1 di belakang. Tapi intinya gimana caranya supaya punggungnya rata.
So in the U.S., it's very different in different places, but in the U.S., we talk about pulling with your arms. I said arms ready to pull is a big part of being set on the blocks. So you see Caleb Dressel, Simone Manuel, all the best starters, what they do is they bring their elbows up, and what that does, it helps you change your posture in your back. You have your arms, your elbows back, and what it does is elbows up, chest forward, and it just changes the posture of your back so you can get your hips moving forward and then you can get a good jump. So elbows to ribs, it helps change your posture to get the flat back.
Oke, di Amerika kebiasaannya adalah menyuruh atlet untuk tangannya juga ikut menarik sablongnya, yaitu sikunya masuk ke dalam tulang iganya. Di sekitar ada posisi di tulang iga supaya membantu dari posisi punggung ya ke posisi tegak dengan kedua tangan, ke posisi punggungnya rata.
So I go from this drill, and the next drill I talk about with kids is usually what I call, actually, so in the U.S., are there cactus in Southeast Asia? Cactus is very much in Arizona. So like, I want to see elbows back, and so I have kids, like this is a cactus, you know, your arms out to the side. This is not a great analogy if you don't know what a cactus is, but basically flat back, elbows up, and then pushing off.
Ya, jadi ini adalah step selanjutnya, ya dinamainya kaktus. Karena kalau di Amerika itu kita kalau main kaktus itu tahu pohon kaktus kan, ada yang begini ya. Nah, jadi posisinya seperti ini karena tujuannya adalah membiasakan si anak untuk punggungnya supaya rata, ya pada saat tarik juga ada di posisi ini. Jadi dibiasakan posisinya seperti itu dalam loncat. Jadi posisi kita berusaha supaya posisi punggungnya rata.
And then I like to go from cactus to what I call, and again, if you don't know this animal is the flamingo.
Yeah.
But basically, flamingo, is a pink bird that stands up on land. And so what you do in flamingo drill is you use your elbows to throw yourself forward. So usually people will use the back foot. If the back foot is there, it pushes you forward. But with flamingo, from the back leg up, you have to use your arms. So basically, use your arms and elbows up to your ribs.
Ya, ini adalah tahap selanjutnya, yaitu flamingo ya. Karena flamingo itu kan berdirinya kakinya cuma satu. Ya, jadi start kaki-kaki cuma satu, tujuannya adalah untuk menggunakan tangannya untuk loncat. Kalau kita ada kaki di belakang, biasanya kaki di belakang yang akan membantu loncatannya sudah begitu. Tapi dengan drill ini berarti tangannya juga harus, idenya harus tangannya ikut membantu.
And so looking at this is an athlete. The bottom video is the good video. It's a good example. Same athlete, and this athlete is using their arms. I like that what you see is the elbows come up to the ribs. What you see is they stay flat off the blocks. The bottom on the bottom video. Elbows up to ribs. They stay forward as they're moving. The video on the top, the athlete is shooting the hands up and forward. The arms are not ready to pull. The hands come up, the head comes up, and the entry is not good. So I want to see flat entry, flat jump, forward jump, not jumping upward.
Jump.
And that helps create a good forward entry, a good entry.
Oke ya, jadi ini adalah atlet yang sama videonya di atas dan di bawah. Kalau yang di atas, atlet itu tidak menggunakan tangannya saat melakukan start. Ya, sementara di bawah dia menggunakan tangannya ke arah tulang iganya. Ya, dan itu akan menghasilkan loncatan yang lebih rata ke depan, bukan ke atas.
So in the U.S., everyone tries to copy Caleb Dressel. Especially boys try to copy Caleb. What they think Caleb is doing, they think he's jumping way up, they think he's lifting his head, but in reality, he's not. And that is something that you need to know. Even the best start in the entire world, what he's doing is let me go a little bit further, sorry, a little bit more, sorry, let me keep this going in the right spot. So even here, he is flat, he is horizontal. His shoulders are never higher than his hips. And that's what most people, when they try to copy Caleb, they think what he's doing is he's lifting his shoulders up, he's jumping really high. But when you look at this, he is horizontal, he's flat.
Oke, seluruh perenang di Amerika itu mencoba meniru Caleb Dressel. Dia adalah perenang yang mempunyai start terbaik di dunia. Ya, mereka pikir loncatan Caleb Dressel ini loncat ke atas ya, dengan membusukkan dadanya. Padahal yang dilakukan besar bukan itu. Tapi dia mencoba membuat supaya gerakan tangan, supaya posisi punggungnya rata. Oke. Pada saat dia loncat ke depan, bukan ke atas.
The head and the shoulders will never go higher than the hips. Never lift up more than the hips. It'll always stay. So you're down and then you lift up, but you never lift higher than your shoulder, than your hips. And you see that in the video here, that is not going up.
Ya, jadi posisi kepala dan bahunya itu tidak pernah melebihi posisi pinggulnya pada saat dia loncat. Ya, jadi rata.
And so this video is actually on YouTube, so you can find it. I think you should be able to find it and watch it. You can just try to search in YouTube, Caleb Dressel start slow motion. That's how it's titled. And hopefully you'll be able to find this video. You can watch this whenever you want.
Ya, videonya ada di YouTube, jadi bisa di-download sendiri, dicari.
So, getting started or moving back
To when? What part?
To just where he's set up for his start.
Yeah.
Okay. Notice where the wedge is. Caleb is how tall?
Ooh. 6.
6'4", 6'5".
Is he that tall?
Maybe not. But the wedge is probably on 3.
Yeah. Not like that.
Yeah, you see it's because once his front leg is almost straight. And so 2 things I think are important. Number 1, don't move the wedge back so far because your leg becomes straight before you're able to really push off the wall. So you'll see in a minute when Russell moves it forward, you'll see that his leg is fully extended when he's out over water. That's when you want to be fully extended. And then the last thing I want to say is probably he has 60% of his body weight on his front leg. If you go back too far and your front leg is bent and you go back too far, you're not getting the force, the flamingo drill that he had before when you were like this. You don't get that. And when you're crouched down like this, you're putting way too much weight on your back leg. You want to be here because you want to react. If it's back too far, it takes too long to react. Does that make sense?
Thank you, Frank. Oke, jadi penjelasan dari Coach Frank tadi adalah posisinya Caleb Dressel di sebelum start ya. Ya, kita lihat Caleb Dressel ini tinggi, ya mungkin nggak terlalu tinggi untuk ukuran Amerika, tapi tinggi betul-betul mungkin 185 ya, atau 187 gitu ya tingginya. Dan lihat posisi wedges-nya itu, posisi start ini dia di nomor 3. Jadi dia nggak paling, kan ada 5 nomor tuh, 1, 2, 3, 4. Orang yang tingginya mungkin 187 ya, posisinya aja di 3. Ya, banyak atlet kita yang nggak terlalu tinggi ada di 5 gitu. Dan itu menyebabkan dorongannya kurang maksimal karena dia sudah siap mendorong, dia sudah siap kalau terlalu belakang. Tadi penjelasannya itu saya, dia barusan reaksi juga sudah mendorong, ya. Jadi akhirnya nggak jauh malahan startnya. Jadi bisa diatur supaya posisi kakinya tidak terlalu terbuka pada saat mau melakukan track start.
So Caleb's up. So I talk about bringing elbows to your ribs, elbows to ribs. Caleb's elbows go way back here. I don't think most people should be doing that. I think that requires a little more flexibility. So when I talk to athletes, it's more elbows up and then swing around the side. And so just you want to be comfortable. Again, like, same thing as the swimming strokes. You want to be moving in a way that's comfortable for you and not straining. And so Caleb has pretty flexible shoulders, so his arms can go pretty far back, but that's not most people.
Ya, kalau dilihat tadi yang dijelaskan Russell adalah mostrat sikunya ke arah tulang iga. Kalau di sini kalian Russell bisa melebihi jauh lebih ya, karena dia fleksibel bahunya. Tapi nggak semua orang bisa fleksibel dalam Russell.
And so, like, this is an athlete that I've spent a little bit of time working with. The bottom video, he does a much better job of not jumping up as much. So in the top video, he's just jumping a little bit higher. You can see his shoulders are up, higher than his hips. This is a better job just keeping that a little bit flatter here. And then when he's entering, that's where you see the difference, is on the entry. Smaller splash on the entry. So what you're trying to do is just stay flatter off the block, stay horizontal as you're jumping.
Ya, jadi ini sama orangnya, kalau dilihat yang atas bedanya sangat tipis ya. Yang atas agak ke atas, ya artinya punggungnya ini masih belum flat, lebih tinggi dari posisi pinggulnya. Yang di bawah sudah lebih rata. Dan itu yang kita tuju supaya lebih jauh, dan yang terlihat adalah pada saat masuk dalam air lebih sedikit ikaman air.
And the last thing I'll say about starts is I also know, like, I joke with my international colleagues because they call this the American start. And you watch the Australians do starts, and all they do is they throw their hands forward. And so when I'm working with athletes that don't want to pull back, what I tell them is you don't want to be the same thing. Like, you don't want to lift your hands too high, you don't want to lift your shoulders too high. You just want to lift and throw forward.
Ya, ini juga ada masukan ya dari beberapa temannya, ya, teman-teman Russell yang ada di internasional. Mungkin di Amerika kan semua bikin kayak Brazil tarik, gitu. Tapi di negara-negara baru yang lain mungkin tidak seperti itu. Ada juga teknik yang hanya melempar tangannya ke depan, ya, tapi benar-benar melempar ke depan, bukan ke atas. Pokoknya intinya tidak arahnya ke atas, tapi ke depan sebenarnya. Itu juga salah satu teknik untuk menjadi stop.
Alright, so we're not going to do questions here because we can do questions tomorrow. We want to be respectful of everybody's time and make sure that everyone can still carry on with their evening after this. So we're not going to do questions, we're just going to go right into backroom starts.
Kita langsung lanjut ya, disimpan nanti pertanyaannya. Kita mau selesai cepat.
And so, same thing in freestyle. My goal is to make sure that I want to make sure that people are in the best position to get a good start. And so what I talk about is pulling up slightly. What I think most people do is they pull up way too much. They pull their hands, they're facing way too close, and their hips way too far out. So what I want to see is, let's slow this, stop this, pause this, is I want to see, pause. And what I want to see is the head neutral, the back slightly angled, but not angled too much. I want to see the hips sitting on the water. And basically like they're sitting in a puddle. So that's what I'm looking for. Is not pulling in too much and not having your hips too far out.
Oke, jadi posisi start kayak hukum. Suggestion dari saran dari Russell adalah kita tidak terlalu bungkuk ya posisinya. Posisi bungkuknya itu lurus dan posisi pantatnya ini ada di permukaan air. Ini posisi yang disarankan untuk start dulu.
And so what this looks like, first of all, it's very uncomfortable. It's a hard position to hold. And so this is Reagan Smith, and we spent a lot of time working on her start. And just having her practice getting into this position, and once she was able to consistently repeat this position, the rest of the start was actually working out a whole lot nicer.
Ya, jadi si Reagan Smith ini, dia ini juara dunia kayak hukum ya, mengenai rekor dunia juga. Nah, ini untuk ada di posisi sini aja butuh cukup waktu yang agak lama ya untuk ada memperbaiki posisi startnya ini, karena pada saat posisi start ini sudah betul, maka startnya jauh lebih baik.
So what this looks like, I made this, I think this is on the Hasbro set somewhere, but basically this is the ideal position that you're looking for. All the key parts, neutral head position, the arms slightly bent, you're not pulling it all the way. The back is angled slightly inward, and the knees are bent tighter than 90 degrees. And I like the hips, basically, like you're sitting in a puddle. Your hips are sitting in a puddle of water.
Oke, jadi posisi yang diinginkan, ya, kepalanya natural posisinya ya, nggak ditarik ke bawah, ya, semuanya posisinya natural, nariknya juga nggak sampai mentok ya. Terus posisi kakinya juga lebih sedikit dari 90 derajat, ya, lebih dekat. Kemudian yang paling penting adalah hipsnya atau pinggulnya di permukaan air.
And then being able to move from that position. What I think is the best, is the thing to focus on, is opening up your hips. So how do you open up the angle of your hips so you go from very bent here, and then you open it up. So I read that there was a research study done by some Japanese researchers, and what they talked about was the best starters were able to open up their hips here, so go from bent to open the quickest. So that's what I focus on, is opening up the hips, how you unfold your body. Yes, you're tilting your head back and your arms are going over the top, but you're mostly trying to open up your hips so that you can jump away from the wall.
Ya, salah posisi selanjutnya adalah loncat ya. Jadi seberapa cepat kita bisa membuka badan kita yang tadinya kita nekuk ini mau start, seberapa cepat kita bisa buka. Menurut researcher dari Jepang itu, siapa yang lebih cepat bisa buka badannya ya, atau hipsnya, pinggulnya, itu yang punya start lebih bagus.
And she's going a little bit too high, and that's just a little bit of her issue. So basically the biggest thing for her is to push away from the wall and try to jump, make sure that she can open up so that she's not jumping up too high and jumping flatter and more horizontally.
Ya, Derek Smith maksudnya agak terlalu tinggi, tapi kuncinya adalah bukan loncat tinggi, tapi loncat lebih ke jauh ke depan.
I'm going to try to end this in 20 minutes, so I'm going to jump to dog kick, to fifth stroke. And so, basically, I think that similar to freestyle kick, the important thing is bending your knees. The kick happens in front of the body. So I talked about a flutter kick. You want to be moving water deeper than your body, more in front of your body. And it's the same thing with dog kick. The tuck starts with bringing the knees forward, and then it ends with the feet coming forward.
Ya, dolphin kick sama intinya dengan kaki gaya bebas ya. Lututnya harus tekuk, ya harus lebih maju dari badan, jauh lebih maju ke depan dari badan.
And so what's happening here is the knees come forward. What naturally also happens is that the arms bend forward here. So you have the knees come forward and the arms, the shoulders, you bend forward at the shoulder. You don't want to do that too much, but it's okay if your shoulders bend a little bit.
Ya, pada saat kita bengkokkan lutut secara natural pada posisi streamline, tangan kita akan bergerak sedikit turun ke bawah. Jadi akan sedikit bergerak ke bawah. Kita nggak mau supaya gerakannya itu terlalu besar, tapi kalau bergerak sedikit itu nggak masalah.
And then here's the important part, the finish. So what's happening is, look how deep the feet are. The feet are moving water really far in front of the body. That is the important part. There's two aspects of this. The feet finish deep, you're moving a lot of water, and you look at the arms. The arms can really bend back. So this is like a very big dolphin kick. So not every good dolphin kick is going to look like this. This is, I would say, really emphasizing what these aspects are on this extension. You have the feet extended, and you have the arms extended.
Ya, ini bagian yang paling penting di dolphin kick. Ya, lihat seberapa dalam tendangan kakinya. Ya, jauh sekali dari badannya. Dan lihat posisi tangannya. Pada saat tendangannya maksimal, tangannya juga maksimal di reach ke atas.
And so looking at some drills, I would say, yeah, just the combination of drills is really nice. First, because I like the knees coming up, I like to have, bring the knees up and then throw water up off your feet. So I want these kids to throw water off their toes, and like this kid is doing such a great job, like throwing water up with his toes. So knees up, toes up.
Ya, karena tujuannya adalah membengkokkan lututnya yang besar. Drill yang dilakukan Russell seperti ini. Ya, jadi justru lututnya harus keluar dari air dan lempar air sebanyak-banyaknya ke atas.
So knees up, toes up, and then I like moving towards this drill, which is basically kicking against the board. So the hands are on top of the board, and you're kicking through it. This video is on the Ask website, so you can check it out in that video library that I showed you. But it's basically you're bouncing and you're stretching at the shoulders. So this is really helping that extension with the arms and stretching back with the arms. That is a hard thing, the hardest thing for people to do in dolphin kick.
Oke, ya, ini salah satu drillnya. Ini bisa dilihat di link yang ada di buku yang dibagikan itu ya. Ini gunanya adalah untuk mencari mencari feeling dari underwater itu sendiri ya. Jadi merasakan baunya, gerakan baunya seberapa, ya, kemudian tendangan kakinya.
And when you have your kids doing it, you're gonna have different. It's gonna look not the same. I often have to get people like the head is too low here, and you see different variations. But like I want to see the head come up and down because I want to see the shoulders stretch as they're kicking through the board.
Ya, setiap atlet pasti akan berbeda-beda dalam gerakan ini ya. Tapi yang mau dilihat adalah bagaimana gerakan kepalanya naik dan turun pada saat tangannya yang megang papan itu tidak bergerak, ya, yang lebih fleksibel yang belakang ini.
And then I like to see I move from kicking against the board to what we call fish kick in the U.S. So this is Coleman Stewart. Coleman, he was the one that was demonstrating the other drill before too. And Coleman is the short course world record holder in the 100 back, and an incredible dolphin kicker. And so when he's doing fish kick, it's just a big kick, and what the emphasis is on stretching back, reaching as far back with the hands, because that part is really important.
Ya, ini adalah pemegang rekor daya punggung di kolam pendek, ya, di short course. Nah, ini adalah satu drillnya, ya, drillnya besar sekali, dolphinnya posisinya miring, terus jadi lebih cepat dan lebih cepat. Ya, gunanya untuk supaya seberapa besar gerakan tangan kita yang di depan.
So when I'm working with kids, I start with just one arm doing fish kick, a big kick with one arm at each side. So one arm up, one arm at each side, and I'm emphasizing reaching back and then kicking and then going forward. So really exaggerating this backward movement is so important. We can see right here. And then it helps them get that full awesome kick on the front end of that, where it really is extending forward. So reaching back and then extending forward and really exaggerating.
Ya, ini contohnya yang dilakukan mungkin nggak pakai tangan gue dan nggak terlalu besar yang tadi fisik tadi ya, yang dilakukan sebelumnya. Dengan satu tangan ini tujuannya adalah supaya bisa menjangkau ke belakang tangannya, ya, sehingga tendangan efeknya adalah tendangan ke depannya jadi lebih jauh.
And a club somewhere in the U.S., really nice kicks, and the biggest thing that she's doing really nice is just the kick happens in front of the body. And so what happens is I'll slow this down, knees up, and finishes the kick up. Look how high her feet are above her body. So her body's here and her feet are up here. So really moving water.
Ya, ini adalah contoh ya, bisa dilihat lutut, posisi lututnya di depan, kemudian seberapa jauh jempol kakinya itu ada dari badannya.
And mistakes that often people make. In the US, it's not just about, so not a good kick. This is not a good kick. So what you have is instead of the knees coming forward, the heels are coming up. So the kick is kind of starting way too far back. Instead of the knees forward, you have the feet being too high up, lifting the feet up too much.
Ya, ini contoh yang nggak bagus ya, karena lututnya nggak maju. Ya, lututnya nggak maju, kakinya nengok ke belakang.
So you want to see the kick happen here, not here. Here.
Ya, jadi tendangannya harus di depan badan, bukan di rata dengan badan.
And you see this guy also moving the hips too much. So the way his hips are right here, too much. Hips are going way too far back. I want to see the hips stay more in line so the finish the kick forward. So hips popping way too much.
Ya, jadi anak ini menggunakan pinggulnya terlalu banyak ya gerakannya. Padahal harusnya gerakan pinggulnya dikit, lututnya yang maju ke depan, bukan pinggulnya bergerak, tapi lututnya maju ke depan.
And more of the same here. Feet coming up too much, and then look where the feet is finishing. Feet are finishing in line with the body instead of more forward.
Ya, kalau dilihat kakinya hampir lurus dengan badannya, padahal harusnya jauh ke bawah.
So really, dog kicking is bring the knees forward, and then extend with the feet and also extend the arms.
Ya, jadi intinya lututnya maju ke depan, tendangannya jauh ke bawah, tapi tangannya juga naik ke atas, ya, di penjangkauan.
So this is on the ASCA website, and so this is the long course number of kicks for the men. I showed you 100 back. So this is the number of fit strokes that are happening off every wall. Average number. So I showed you back stroke already, and so for freestyle and fly, you have this is the number of kicks. We're seeing the number of kicks for young athletes also continue to rise up as people are getting better and better. So right now, I think the speed of dolphin kicks hasn't quite caught up to the speed of freestyle as much. So you have like some 200 freestyle, I do think there's room for that to grow.
Ya, ini adalah pentingnya dari kelima atau dolphin kick ini ya. Bahkan dalam setiap tabel tadi ya, kalau dilihat ada average dolphin kicknya di setiap jarak. Misalnya itu 12, 8, 7, 7 berarti rata-rata pernah 200.000 dia melakukan 12 kali kaki dari start, 50 keduanya 8 kali, 50 ketiganya 7 kali, 54-nya 7 kali.
So even this is the women's student freestyle, and the most kicks, this was before this year, the most kicks that somebody did off the turn, off of their walls was 6, 8, 6, 5, 25 kicks. And the world record, new world record, Molly O'Callahan from Australia, she took 8, 7, 7, 7. So this was the most kicks before this year, it was 25 kicks, and Molly O'Callahan, when she broke the world record at World Championships, was 29 kicks. 8, 7, 7, 7. So 29 kicks. So already in last year we were seeing the maximum kicks, and you know it's the fastest ever.
Ya, ini adalah maksimum kicking yang dilakukan oleh perenang dunia ya, juara dunia. Tapi dipecahin ya, sudah dipecahin 25 kali kaki gaya kupu, dolphin kick. Ya, dalam 200 meter gaya bebas. Jadi ini sangat penting ya, gaya kelima ini atau dolphin kick.
Alright, and then last things, because I want to finish this in 5 minutes now. And this is just on turns. And so this is how I talk about turns, and it's a little bit different, but I feel, especially at on the men's fastest turns, I've seen a lot of this happen. I just don't hear people talk about teaching it like this. So for turns and for breaststroke and fly turns. I like seeing. I don't care necessarily as much for people to come straight back, so touch the wall and come straight back. I like seeing touch the wall and come around the side and keep your ear close to the water. Keep your ear close to the water, face close to the water, and then you're in a better position to have a better push.
Oke ya, kalau pembalikan ini kita berbalik yang pembalikan buku dan dada itu mirip ya. Kalau kita dulu taunya telepon ya, telepon. Tapi kalau sekarang rasa lebih menyarankan untuk telinga yang satunya itu lebih dekat dengan air. Dengan begitu, menurut rasa posisinya akan lebih bagus untuk mendapat dorongan yang lebih kuat. Posisinya akan lebih siap untuk mendorong lebih kuat.
And it's like I said, I see a lot of the U.S. men and universities turn like this. I just don't hear it talked about that much. And this girl's doing a really nice job. This team that I was working with, this girl, not this girl, a different girl, I saw do just last week do the fastest 200 fly and 200 fly from someone on junior nationals ever with these turns. It was the same team that I was working with here, and I thought it turned out fantastic. Just really moving in this way. So looking slowly, you can see the face is close to the water. The push is nice because instead of her knees being up and having to push and turn at the same time, her knees are a little bit more to the side, so you can get a better push and come onto her stomach better.
Oke ya, ini pembalikan seperti ini. Kenapa disarankan? Karena ada perenang yang memecahkan rekor junior nasional itu perenang junior di Amerika ya. Itu melakukan pembalikan seperti ini. Ya, dan hasilnya juga cukup fantastis. Ya, dengan cara lebih menempelkan sisi kiri dari wajahnya itu dekat dengan air.
And so, just working with some kids doing this, I mean, this is what I'm having the boys do, is just be on the wall, and, you know, as they're, like, I'm telling them to go, basically having them keep their ear close to the water and their hand from sliding across the top. You see, this is one of the boys doing the turn, where they're just coming around the side, and again, traditionally, everyone does straight back. And I just think it makes sort of a really awkward push off the wall. And so I'm trying to get somewhere in the middle of turning at an angle, still being fast, so bringing the knees up to the wall, and then having a good push off.
Ya, ini adalah yang dilakukan untuk pembalikan supaya posisinya lebih cepat dan lebih siap karena posisinya sudah miring. Kalau yang tradisional yang kita diajarkan adalah posisi yang ke atas. Bukan salah ya, cuman posisinya menurut Rasul lebih cepat dan lebih siap dalam meluncur.
And then the last thing I'll say is on freestyle turn. Two things that I focus on, and it is I want to see people bend at the waist. I don't really care to see people tuck the chin. I want to see people bend at the waist, get the shoulders down, because I think when you get the shoulders down, that's when you get your hips. What you're trying to do is get your hips over the top. To get your hips over the top, you need your shoulders to come down. And so I'm trying to make two things. Bend at the waist, roll the head and roll the shoulders, bend at the waist, and then the second thing, I want people to use the hands. So finish the pull, turn the hands over, use the hands to also help you get over the top.
Oke, untuk memberikan gaya bebas ya, memberikan gaya bebas. Rasul nggak menyarankan untuk posisi kepalanya harus ditempelin dagunya, tapi lebih cepat untuk
Menekuk.
badannya, karena harus membawa bahunya ke bawah. Karena dengan bahunya ke bawah, maka pegangannya lebih cepat. Itu nomor 1. Kedua, harus ada bantuan dari tangan. Tangannya harus membantu.
So you see here, bend at the waist. You don't see the chin tucked. You see that it's your head staying locked in a neutral position, bending at the waist, and then also the palms facing down. Finish the hands, palms face down. Use your hands to also get your hips and get your turn over the top.
Ya kalau dilihat kepalanya posisinya nggak tunduk ya, posisinya masih normal lurus. Lihat posisi tangannya, telapak tangannya mengarah ke bawah dan membantu, bukan ke atas. Sorry, kan ke bawah. Nah ya, tangannya itu bantu supaya lebih cepat kembali.
Alright, and I'm sure there are a lot of questions, but we'll save those for tomorrow. How about that? And thank you again to you. I'm tired. You're tired too.
Oke, di situ ya, kalau dicatat pertanyaannya besok bisa dipertanyakan tentang ini, dan kita mau menyelesaikan sesi hari ini mau
Photo time.
foto tadi.
So everybody come up here, and we'll do the photo up here. We'll try to do this quickly so that everyone can have dinner or leave.
Thank you so much, Coach Russell, and thank you, Coach Chris. Alright, we have had a very long day today. Hari yang sedang panjang. We will do the photograph, group photograph, and then we will break and you can go for dinner and prayers. And remember, esok pagi pukul 8 registration, and we have 8:50